Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Thunderstruck podcast with Tori. This is episode 10. Last episode, I said it was episode 10, but this time it's actually episode 10 because I meant to say episode 9 last episode, so my bad on my part, but is episode 10 of the Thunderstruck podcast with Tori, where I cover all things Los Angeles Chargers related. That was probably the ugliest loss from the Chargers since the Houston Texans playoff game. Is there a silver lining? I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to explain all about it in this episode. Now, let's just start with the ranting a little bit, right? I said in the last episode that protecting this handsome man was the most important thing. And did that happen? No. Matter of fact, it became actually worse than the Giants game, which I didn't think that would be possible because on paper, the Giants actually have a better pass rushing attack than the Commanders on paper because of the skilled players that's on that Giants defensive line, right? What did I notice? I noticed that Trey Pipkins suffered an injury. I noticed that Amarian Hampton is out with an ankle for the next 4 weeks, and you're like, come on, like, I know injuries is a part of the game, but man, you just lose Najee Harris. You just lose Joe Alt. Khalil Mack is yet to, have a time frame of when he's going to return. I'm hoping maybe this week, or if not against the Colts. That would be really clutch if he comes in. You have no Khalil Mack. Mekhi Becton is just in and out when it comes to the injuries, and you're like, come on. However, Mekhi Becton did say he is planning to play through the hand injury, which is, that's something. Then you have not an injury now. I'm going to just shift to the offensive line briefly because actually there's been some good news that has happened today, and I'm going to try to, get into it as quick as I possibly can, right? The offensive line was dreadful on Sunday. No sugarcoating it. Austin Delcius gave up 3 sacks, 5 pressures. I'm going to say that experiment should not happen again, especially at the blind side left tackle. What I want to happen if Trey Pipkins is available at right tackle, which I'm hoping he is, that you put Jamari Sawyer at left tackle. He filled in at right tackle, but at the same time doesn't look as effective as him at left tackle. So I would immediately do that if Trey Pipkins is ready to play. Mekhi Becton maybe at left tackle. That would be interesting as well. I honestly think Foster Sorrell could be a little bit better, but at the same time haven't really gotten a lot of playing time, so I'm not going to really grade him. But somebody who I'm going to for sure grade is none other than probably the least favorite player on the Chargers when it comes to fans right now, Bradley Bozeman. Now, I don't mean to sound personal when I say this, but you got to put Andre James in there. Why do I think that? Well, numbers don't lie, right? Bradley Bozeman is ranked 46 out of the 46 centers in the NFL, which means that there are backup centers in the league that are better ranked than him. Now, I'm going this from a winning mindset. We're trying to win the Super Bowl, right? You cannot have multiple weeks of you being off of the communication between your quarterback. And we literally saw it on the field. Justin Herbert has a full conversation with the protection. He talks to Oronde Gadsden, and Gadsden needs to get more touches, but I'll talk about that a little bit later, maybe even in the next episode. But he has a full conversation on the field about what he sees is coming, right? And then Bradley Bozeman says, well, there's going to be more rushers on the left side. And then before Herbert, this handsome man, takes the snap, he goes, no! And then he snaps the ball. And what do I see? I see Bradley Bozeman double team Zion Johnson, which if I'm being honest, Zion Johnson is actually pretty decent. He didn't need to be double teamed. But what did that allow? A free rusher that Bozeman should have picked up, right? Herbert gets thrown on the ground, somehow throws the ball away, and that was on 3rd down. And there was multiple protection plays like that where they're just not performing in a high caliber level, which means that Greg Roman's offense should shift until their offensive line is a little bit more healthy. I think all it needs to happen is that Joe Alt needs to be on the field, and then we'll be more efficient when it comes to the offense. But we got to get out of shotgun. Maybe it'll be worse if he takes the ball under center, but we got to find out a new scheme that really favors Herbert. We're playing against a Dolphin team that just lost to the Carolina Panthers, who just gave up basically 200 yards to their backup running back, Rico Dewell. right? We need to take advantage of that. So, well, Hampton is hurt, right? We need to make a move at running back. Do we trade for Breece Hall? Do we trade for Alvin Kamara? Would I love that? Absolutely. But we signed Nyheim Hines off the practice squad, which showed some flashes in the preseason, and he's a vet, so you got to respect that. You also have Hassan Haskins, who made some plays last year. Same with Kamani Vidal. I'm going to be hopeful with that, but at the same time, it would be really effective if the Chargers was aggressive as like a Philadelphia Eagle franchise, where you're just going to trade for the best position player that you can trade for to make your team better. You got to be a little bit more aggressive. And did the Chargers show that today, Tuesday, October 7th? Absolutely. They actually made some moves. One move that I really like is that they got a better kick return option for Darius Davis's absence with a knee injury. They got Jalen Reagor, who has ups and downs with his NFL career. However, the best flashes, I would say, when it comes to his NFL career was on special teams. He has multiple return touchdowns. So maybe give that an angle and a shot. He has speed. We'll see what happens there. I already mentioned Nyheim Hines. I think he would be a really good pass catching option when it comes to the Chargers offense. There was multiple times, I even saw it in person against the Saints in the preseason, where he picked up blitz pretty well. And, you know, you're going to get that when it comes with experience. And I think Nyheim Hines really brings that to the table. Now, speaking of making moves, the Chargers made a move today, which surprised a lot of people, surprised me for sure. They got Odafe Oweh from the Baltimore Ravens, a very, very freakish athlete to help with that pass rush that's been struggling. Other than Tuli Pelotu, Jaden Daniels had multiple times where he had time to scan the field or take off. Odafe Oweh is a freakish athlete who's big for an edge rusher, but he's extremely quick and fast. And he's a former first-round pick. We trade Alohi Gilman, which, you know, seems like a fair trade when it comes to the Baltimore Ravens situation with him filling in for Kyle Hamilton at safety. They have multiple injuries, and I think that would be a fair trade, and they did it. Tony Jefferson looks like he's going to get more playing time along with Elijah Molden and Derwin James. I would say a lot more Derwin James snaps at safety. And then the Chargers literally just got a notification on my phone that the Chargers worked out Dante Foreman and Royce Freeman and Nyheim Miller-Hines and Travion Williams. I'm not familiar with Travion Williams. However, Royce Freeman showed some flashes on the Broncos last year, and he's a big physical runner. And Dante Foreman is literally the definition of a vet running back with experience. I would be pretty happy with that if they see what they can do with making a move. Maybe I would kind of lean towards Royce Freeman because I feel like he fits the Jim Harbaugh scheme a little bit more. But yeah, that's what I just received on Twitter. So shout out to Chargers World for reposting that. Speaking of social media, I commented on the Chargers World post, and I want to shout out BRCCUDA. Maybe it's Barracuda, but you don't know how to spell. He says, at Tori and Kona, we get it, bro. Your podcast failed. So shout out to Barracuda. So yeah, I'm glad that you tune in every now and then to this podcast. But back to the meat and potatoes of what I want to say about the Chargers Commanders game. It was a rough one. You know, you have missed calls, you've had red zone turnovers, you've had a punt return touchdown that gets taken away because of penalties, and the penalties have killed us, especially on the offensive line. If anything, that is just so damaging to momentum. And you see that, you know, Herbert throwing multiple first downs and just offensive hold, false start, offensive hold. It kills the momentum. Roughing into the kicker on the punt return touchdown, that doesn't even count. They also get a first down, and then they drive down the field and get a field goal. Like, that is beating ourselves up. That is not the Commanders doing anything. They will take advantage. Any team will take advantage if you're making those mistakes in the game. The silver lining comes in with, I think Andre James will make the start at center at some point because of the multiple miscommunication calls with Bradley Bozeman, with Justin Herbert. We want to win. You got to try something new at center. So Andre James at center, I'm hoping that happens, along with I hope Mekhi Becton is healthy. I hope Trey Pipkins is healthy. And we put Jamari Salyer at left tackle. We'll touch more about that in the Dolphins preview when I get the injury report of this week against the Dolphins. But the silver lining comes in with we are still number 1 in the AFC West. Shout out to the Jacksonville Jaguars for beating the Kansas City Chiefs, for making me feel a little bit better about the 2-game losing streak that the Chargers had to endure, including the Broncos' crazy win against the Philadelphia Eagles. I also want to mention that I rather see a struggle with injuries, with losing, with underperforming on offense when it comes to the earlier side of the schedule rather than the late side of the schedule. That's the thing. It is a long NFL year. Khalil Mack will be back at some point. Joe Alt will be back. Omarion Hampton will be back at some point, and other injuries that, you know, we can be healthy again. You got to keep the faith, right? I mean, that's what all of this is about. This is entertainment. We're just going to sit and watch what happens, and that's got to be the positive mindset and the positive attitude. And if you're a real fan, it should be no problem. It's okay to feel upset and angry. I was for sure upset and angry on Sunday afternoon. But then you have days like this where the Chargers get Odafe Owe, a really good pass rusher, for Troy Dye or Derwin. What else do I need to say? I think that the Chargers playing the Dolphins is a really big gift. Now we need to win this game. And if we do win this game, we'll be 4-2. Then we play the Colts. That's going to be a tough game. But again, one game at a time. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the coaching adjustments. You know, we'll see what happens if they make a trade. We'll see if they'll make a trade for Breece Hall or Alvin Kamara or Tyler Algier, or signing the players I just mentioned that they just worked out, which I really hope that happens. I keep refreshing my Twitter just in case there's a new move. But yeah, so far, no moves so far. But hey, I'm not gonna lie. If we do trade for Tyler Algier, Alvin Kamara, Breece Hall, I think I'm gonna make a post just about that. That would be extremely thrilling. But till next time, the next time I'll see you will be episode 11. Make sure you follow me on everything. The link is in the bio. Bolt Gang for life. Charger fans, nobody has it better than us. We are deserving to have success, and it's early in the NFL season. Keep your head up. Shout out Tupac, and Bolt Gang or don't bang. I'll see you guys in the next episode, and peace.